Hello, today we are really happy to kick off our conversation about NovaSelf. We are trying to create a podcast, and the whole mission of that podcast is to bring people together and to tell the true, real stories of people in New Zealand. And what we are trying to achieve is really to tell the real stories of courage, the real stories of how people rebuild and reshuffle their careers and how they find their new personal brand to set up as a new person in the new beautiful country such as New Zealand. And we're so thrilled to have you today because
Thank you.
You are very experienced expat who's been, I think, in most of the continents of the world, who used to work there, has been in multiple cultures, and you probably understand the issues of every person who steps into the immigrant journey, what that means in terms of defining their new identity, in terms of how to focus on the career so you are not feeling that you are losing something but gaining, and how to get that courage ready to get that benefit of having in a new chapter of the life and getting that in the full-blown benefit for yourself and for the people around you. And one thing that I forgot to mention is really the key thing that I would like to continue with this podcast is to create a series of the podcast, and the key focus will be to talk to the people who are New Zealanders and who are new to New Zealand, to have both perspectives and to understand how we can build a new New Zealand with those people arriving and people who have experiences talking to people who is arriving, and making sure those conversations help everyone to rise and grow. And that's a key message I'd like to put out there. And
nice.
Yes, that's, I think, where we're heading to. And thank you very much for spending this time with us. I know it's a busy time, and you are such an incredible leader. Just to introduce you, you're a coach, and also executive leader who helps people to really feel empowered, and who makes that and shows it in action, how to do that. And to me, each and every conversation we have about the career, about how we can improve as individuals, as a group, as a team, as a business, or as a community, they're always so encouraging. And I'd like to thank you for all your work that you are bringing in and really making this happen. And I think everyone around you, and I've been quite privileged to see your path here in New Zealand for the last 1.5 years now. And it's amazing how you can light up and spotlight people and really bring the best out of them. And looking forward to have this conversation.
Thank you, Sil, about that, and thank you. And it's a pleasure to be on your podcast. And I was privileged and happy to have this conversation with you. I think the first initial question that you asked about the courage, as a migrant when you're coming to a new country. I think the psychologically, when you are in your own country, you are actually a majority, and you not necessarily know the challenges of minority, people who are probably coming into your country, and you may hear about them but not really feel them. But when you come to a new country where there are already people out there settled, you suddenly feel yourself as like a minority. And because you have never been a minority in your country, you go through that psychological, now you don't know how to handle it, because you suddenly feel that you are by yourself. Often what I have seen people they actually surround themselves with their own community of people, which I think initially it's okay, but then you need to expand your horizon, because you're as good as people around you. So if you are still surrounding yourself with those small minority community around you, it's very hard to then break and connect with the all type of people, or all type of whether it is culture, nationality, or so it's very important when you come as a migrant to come as an open mindset. That when you come with the open mindset that, hey, I am going there to change myself and adapt to the environment is not going to change it to you. So often the courage automatically comes in when you know that I am the one who's going to change and adapt. And I don't expect them to change according to me. Right? So then automatically you are courageous. You know that I'm there to change myself.
Mm-hmm. And what are the ways to get to that point that you are comfortable to really get ready for the change and really do that so it feels right with you as well as was aligned to the view of your career path or the way you want to do things?
So there's several factors. I think when you come as a migrant in a new country, one, you need to socialize with as many people as possible. Because if you have, let's say, clubs like Toastmasters, if you have a social club or any gathering where you can actually go and socialize with people, it's important to have this community around you, or one-on-one interaction where you talk to people, understand what are the differences when you say something, or what are the aspects of the language which is considered as good. So the more exposure you get to the social culture and people, especially in a group setting as one-on-one, you actually open yourself So I've met many people who have been living here for many years, but never had that community, never had that one-on-one interaction with apparently other, all are human beings, but we feel that they are this person or this identity. But eventually when you meet them as a human being, they become a human, and you start to understand that they have the same challenges as you. And so the idea is to have more social gathering access, more one-on-one interaction, find a way to read something about the culture, watch videos. So embrace yourself into the new environment, the new culture more and more. And automatically you start getting courageous that, okay, now I understand it. If you understand it, you know how to communicate. If you don't understand it, it's always about, I'm going to say this, but what if your tone of voice is quite high? Like certain cultures, they have very high tone of voice. So when they speak also, like there are like 1 or 2 decimal up, whereas in certain cultures it's much lower. Certain cultures it's like, so you need to understand like what is the pitch of their voice, how much gaps are they using in their words, are they too fast? If they are too fast and you speak slow, it's difficult for them to process it because they are used to processing very fast and they'll lose the attention. So you spend more time understanding them and then adapting. So first is understanding, then adapting. There's no adapting without understanding.
So true. I liked your idea connecting as human to human, and I totally agree. I think it's so important. So we are ready to be a human first, not a representative of our country, not a representative of our background or the experiences we have, but just be there for a person. So can you step me through what can be the tip or something that you have to consider when you trying to build that connection with individually with people around you, and especially in the Kiwi culture when we see that lots of new people or immigrants, the feedback I'm getting, it's so difficult to connect at the personal level with Kiwis, right? And I'm seeing the examples when it's not true, and especially in your world, I can see you are quite integrated in the Kiwi culture, right? And just help us understand how it works and what we should bring and focus.
Sure. So see, what happens with us is we are raised to believe that our culture is the best. This applies to my culture, your culture, most of the migrants, that we believe that, our culture is the best, and then we are going to go to the world and teach our culture. And I think that is just a sense of ego. When we come to a new country, first we need to understand their culture. So if I'm talking to a friend who is living here, raised here, born here, has never been outside, he may have certain prejudices about how the other cultures are, because that's what he has seen on the television or on the internet. When you're watching something on YouTube, and based on what type of things you're watching, they keep showing you more of that. So your framing is become more stronger. And but they are not discriminating you or me per se. They are just reacting to the perception they are holding. So the idea is, when we understand that this is their perception, this is how they see other cultures or other, then it needs to be like a channel or a way that you communicate with this person, rather than rejecting them. Hey, you are holding this, so you're wrong. You say, okay, if you feel like that, why do you feel like this? What do you see here? And I think the moment if you are keen to connect, in the sense that you are keen to add value in their life, that changes pretty much their perception. Because I was watching this Oscar Awards. You will see that most culture wants to recognize their films at Oscars. But if you watch their local countries' events, especially awards, they don't even consider it like a neighbor's movie, not forget about American movies. Because when you are asking for approval, that you want to be approved by the other person, you want to be appreciated by the other person, that puts you on a lesser place. That puts you in a place where you are actually asking, you want something from the other person. Whereas the idea of any communication is to be at the same level of communication when you are having that interaction. You understand this person's prejudices, you understand your prejudices, because you would also have few, because you come from other cultures, a country. And you understand, and then you see that's probably an area where right now I don't want to enter, and I want to actually enter on this side and add value to the other person, and then slowly help him see a new perception, or her a new perception. And once they have a new perception, it helps them to see people who are coming into their country where they have been raised into a new perspective. And it's all about perspective. I think we have had that conversation many times, that you're helping them by changing their perspective. So if you see someone like that, you always see like, okay, how can I help him by changing his perception to a better world? Because he's probably stuck in his world and holding those prejudices.
And I like that idea. Yes, I remember that conversation, how our perceptions sets us to the place. And just recently I heard another podcast about the way we think we interact. Our brain is wired to predict first. So that perception or prediction of what you expect to see is something that is coming first at the background subconsciously, and then we kind of validate whether it's true or not. And
the confirmation bias, I think.
Yes, it's a confirmation bias. So, and I agree totally, it is both-sided. So both people who are in communication, both individuals have their own perceptions. And to me, the key thing is to bring it to your visual, like understand that you have it, and break, in order, same logic, right? In order to deal with it, you need to understand that you have it.
Yeah.
And that's the key I think for me that would be the key message, to make sure that if you are dealing with the perception, make sure that you understand what your perception is as well. And the second thing about giving and taking, just reflecting on what you're saying, is that yes, it's important for us to give in first place, to change that perception so we can take that understanding with us as well.
That's right.
Because otherwise we still will stay in our siloed worlds.
Exactly.
And that's something what we as people who are moving to this beautiful country need to understand, how we can expand our shores so we can see better.
Absolutely.
And help others to see better.
Absolutely. And I think the last line you said, we are helping them see better, along with when we help them see better, we actually see better as well.
Yes.
It's a beautiful quote by Mahatma Gandhi that if you want to find yourself, you must lose yourself in the service of others. So there's no other way. I think I always see that when you are coming to a new country, try to add value. Try to add value to the environment. Try to add value to people. When you're working a job, try to add value to the job. Even if you're taking, for example, a smaller role than what you have in your country, but you can always bring team together by organizing some small breakfast, taking some coffee, some croissants, some things, so that you bring the team together and you're always adding value. And I think often when we come to a new country, we often get mixed up with that once I get a job, then things will be settled and everything will be fine. But the working style is quite different. You're always seeing how they perceive your work. So their perception about your work is what is more important than what you perceive about your work. And perception is pretty much at the core when you come here, and or you go to any country. Like when I went to Europe, or when I traveled to America and other continents, it's always that people do have prejudices. I have my own. So, but the more I'm aware of mine, and the more I let go mine, it helps them as well to let go theirs. The more, like when I traveled outside India, in India, and I think in many countries, you have north, south, east, west, and suddenly when you come out of the country, you become like one identity. And then I lived in Middle East for a while, and then when I used to go to India, they used to see that, I've lived outside India. So you're always like changing your perception or changing other people's perception, not based on who you are, basically based where you're from. And I did have that in me as well. So the more I let go that, the more I saw that people also were comfortable with me and could let go that. And there could be issues between countries, there could be issues in the world. But when you meet a human being, he or she is always seeking the same things. Everybody is seeking importance, appreciation, love, quality of times, being recognized or served something. So I have traveled pretty much everywhere in the world, and I think the core needs are the same. They just come across in a different way or form, but then core needs are pretty much the same.
Could you define the core needs for a person who is struggling to define that personal brand as part of the immigration journey? What should be the core values to be like presented, first of all, to himself or herself and to the world? So sometimes I do feel a struggle of people who even don't know where to start. And I agree totally, those core values are important to have that definition, to then create fit for purpose journey.
Yeah. So it's a slightly long answer
Yes.
for that. I think there's a beautiful book by Gary Chapman on 5 languages of love.
Yes.
Which defines like 5 core needs of love or a human. That is appreciation, quality of time, service, gifts, and physical touch. And first you understand your core need. Then you also understand the people or the environment where you're working, their core needs. But before that, I think the step would be when you come to a new country, stop seeking approval. Stop seeking that will I be accepted or not. If you want to be accepted, you need to understand the culture much more. You need to invest time in understanding the core values of the culture. Maybe the culture is around giving service to people. Like in New Zealand, there's a culture around giving service to people. Quality time is a very high value. Gifts are also very high values. Physical touch, I think, would be as you get comfortable with people. Whereas in Asia, in like South Asia, in Central Asia, it's more like physical, like hugging each other, and so it depends as you understand the culture more. It's understanding more about what are my needs, what are the need of the people, and what are the general needs of the culture. Mm-hmm. So you actually have 3 sides to look at. And then if you keep saying that, okay, you need to give me appreciation, they are not recognizing me because I am, let's say, migrant, or if I've not been promoted that because I'm a migrant, you always would need to check like, what skill am I missing which I didn't have and they had? Is it you are not as good in public speaking? Because people who have worked here have an advantage that they know the market much more than the migrant. So how can you actually scale up yourself, understanding market better, understand what words you would use, what language would you use, what's the tone of voice, what is the psychology of that. So you always are looking at like, I didn't get it, what's missing in me? So the one person I was working with, and he was not getting any jobs, and I asked him, I said, what's going on? He said, I have very good CV and I have very good cover letter, but I'm not getting any jobs. I asked him like, okay, can I have a look on your CV? So he actually had like, if there's a job A, he would have same cover letter and same CV. B, C, D, he just keep sending in, and then
without customizing
and understanding, okay, what is this company, what are they really looking for, what is really the role about, has he connected with anyone on the LinkedIn from that company, is there anything that he thinks that he can offer more for this type of a role. Your question always as a migrant is, how can I beat somebody who's actually local in the job? Because you need to add so much value that the company would say, this person, though he's new or she's new, he's actually offering so much value that I would want to consider this person. So it's always about understanding like what's missing, and if you are not getting what you want, the only focus is yourself. So you're always checking like, okay, where can I do better? Where did I miss the boat? What are the skills I'm missing? Is it technical? Is it soft skills? Is it to do something with my communication? Is it something to do with my public speaking? So you're always adapting and changing yourself so that you can have what you want in that new country. And new country is not going to change for you. This is like, if your language is not easily understood, it's very hard for you to get promotion, because when you are in a meeting or representing the company and the other side is not able to understand you, it's very hard. So you are always working on yourself in the dimension of understanding what would be required and what skill I need to keep adding. So you just keep developing yourself. And I think the key idea is that when you come into a new country, let go your identity that you are that country person, or you are this person, or you are from that nationality, whatever you have. You let go that and try and be at the human level when you're communicating, because you would meet people from everywhere in the world, in New Zealand or any other country that you go. But if you still hold that this country people are like this, you would actually influence that. You would actually create that.
You project
that on that person. And unfortunately, you would actually, you use that as, oh, you see, I said that these country people. So the whole country is not like the same, right? It's a different things, and it's just one or two bad experiences doesn't define the whole country culture.
So true.
So keeping yourself open, keeping yourself into the zone that I'm come here to adapt. I've come here to understand. Things works out very well in any culture that you go.
So true. I like the your highlighting that what we project, because sometimes we feel that the words are right, but the whole projection isn't in sync to what you're saying. And obviously, most of the people who are trying to settle, they're trying to find a new job. And the first barrier that people get is really start, right? And finding those right words, understanding what is missing in you to get the skill, to get the proper messaging, to get the proper public speaking, and really be competitive by the end of the day in that market is really crucial elements.
Exactly.
And projecting it not only with the words, but the way you are, I think that's the key thing.
That's the key, yeah.
And it always ties back to your personal brand. They say that personal brand is not who you are, but what you leave up to yourself.
Yeah.
And I like your idea of connecting on the human level, because that's the easiest pathway to live that proper or true meaning of what you wanted to live as part of your personal brand. But can you try and expand a bit more your answer? What can be an easier way for us, for those who are trying to build new life in New Zealand, to improve that aftertaste of communication?
Yeah. So I think personal brand, as you said, is one of the word. So one is your personal brand, and the other brand could be the brand of your culture or your country or your. So often people mix these two. That they would say that, okay, people from this particular culture or country are like this. So that also can, for example, impact your, like when you're creating a personal brand. Important is that when you understand local culture and local people, local language, you really are able to communicate it differently from the other brands, which may be good or maybe may not be good, but you create your personal persona. Now, personal branding is not about yourself. Again, coming back to that area that it's about me, it's about my projection. It's about how well do you really understand your market? How do you really understand the country that you're in? How well do you really understand the culture of that country? How much do you understand the challenges of that country? And you use that to take, okay, these words are the words that I would use so I can connect with the local culture. And then you actually create your personal brand that, hey, this is who I would like to be. But then who you would like to be cannot be where you are. They are like connected. So where you are, who you would like to be, and how you are going to be connecting these, who you are, where are you, how are you going to connect. So until you really have these three ideas clear, you would always be in your zone. This is who I am, for example, a lot of people would say. It could be that this is what you think you are, but the other people think you're otherwise. Like a lot of people that you must have seen in your job as well, that they think that they are this, but the other people have a different perception about them. And most often than not, other people's perception is right than their own perception about themselves. So it's important that when you're creating your personal brand, that who you are, where are you, what are the other people thinking about you, what are they talking about you, how do you change that, or how do you give that perception that you would like to create about yourself. Ultimately, the perception is reality, right? So it's not who you think. A lot of people would come to you and say that, hey, I've worked hard, I'm working this many number of hours. But when you talk to other people, they say that he's a little bit incompetent. He takes like longer hours to do the same task, which can be done in 2 hours. He takes like 8 hours. So then you need to work on your skill. And personal branding is very important when it comes to understanding these 3 factors: who you are, where are you, how do you communicate, who you want to be.
Agreed. And my question would be, how can we learn more about the new market? What are the signals that we have to understand well to catch that something is getting wrong and we're not getting that signal, and how we can learn it?
I think that this is a great point. And there are 2 types of communication in the world. One is inside out, which is confirmation bias or your own beliefs. And the other type of communication is extrinsic, means the environment is feeding you the information. So it could be newspaper, it could be television, it could be local movies, it could be local TV series, it could be people that you're meeting, it could be just sitting, like I often would tell my friends that you just sit at the railway station and watch people, how they are going at work, what are they wearing. When I go at the airport, and my first thing that when I land, first thing I notice is like there's a queue for people who are local and versus international. I always look at the local people. What are, like in US, for example, they are happy with wearing shorts and t-shirts, but when you go to Europe, they like to wear jeans and shoes. Flip-flops are very common in US. So you start seeing the environment from the time you land, and you say, okay, the local culture is more like this. This is what they wear. Can I hear them? How much is the pitch of their voice? Are they standing too far? Are they standing too close? You start observing from that point. So market is all about observation. You just spend more and more time sitting, watching what's really happening, and not putting your version into it, that, oh, this person, he's like this because you just observe. Suddenly in that silence, when you're just purely observing, it starts giving you data. It starts giving you pattern that, okay, this is how this culture is, this is how things are. Even when you're sitting in a cafe and having a coffee, you can always, people are talking, you're just listening. What are they talking about? What's going on? What are the challenges they are facing? And then you start seeing the pattern that, in this culture, like in Toastmaster, when you go to different clubs, meetings as well, you hear that people are sharing their speeches. What are the challenges? So you would see that there's a pattern there. And the more data and the more information you get unbiased and allowing that to come in, the more you start seeing a pattern. And then the more you start seeing, okay, this is how it's operating here. But if you add yourself into it, that, how would they react to me? How would they like me? How would they? Then the data is like sort of filtered. You would need to sort of look at like a pure data point, like how much information you're taking. And then you create a pattern out of that. Okay, this is how the culture is operating. These are like core values of, for example, New Zealand, people love going out, going for hikes, going for boating, going to travel. They love outside a lot. There's a lot of cultures are very indoor. They want people come home, they want to have lunches, they want to have dinner, barbecue. They would like, so it's more indoor type of a culture. So you when you see all that more often, you start creating that sense that, okay, this is how this culture is. So it's more about observation rather than sort of predicting anything.
So just to recap, the really observations, or this is connecting quite a lot to your point about the context, right? To learn what is the context around before you make any conclusions or actions. And once you understand the key patterns and understand the context, again, coming back to how to use it or how to make it fit for purpose for anyone in that process, and especially making sure you, reading that context, you are reacting to that and not against it, but so to be in sync with the environment you are in. And that's, I think, the art.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that's, if you start getting the context right, then you can make the content for that context. Often we think that I will speak this, like even people when they give their speeches, they have a content. But the audience is different, the room environment is different. Some people, when it's a big room, you have a different style of gestures, where you're in a small room. So you need to understand all of that when you're communicating. So it's context, communication, and content.
We talked a bit about the context. Obviously, communication is a huge part of bringing in the content. But again, from the perspective of that, implementing understanding the context and understanding the key patterns, and then using them in the communication. And once you are defining that communication, obviously, tone of voice you mentioned how, whether we are speaking quickly or loudly or slowly, it all difficult to digest for people who are not get used to it, for instance, right? Or vice versa, if they want to hear slowly, a slow speech, maybe that's what you want to do, right? But again, all those tricks, they are so valuable, but when you are in action, that's where you kind of lose it a bit.
That's right.
And how you can kind of get that back on track when you are you kind of know what you were trying to achieve, but you're losing your way. What would be the beneficial or more like a way to get back on your track?
That's right. So often there's a saying, I don't exactly recall who said it, but it's like there are two ways to live life. One is you take your reality into your imagination and you hold on to the problem. And you say, this is how I react always, why can't I change it? This is how I'm reacting, I'm not able to fix this. The other way to live life is take your imagination into your reality. So you imagine the same incident as if how you wanted it to be. And you keep practicing, keep reinforcing in your imagination that this is how it would be, this is how it is.
Well, I can relate to that. I think I'm a big dreamer. And it resonates quite a lot with me, because I think lots of successes I got in my life, or the experiences that I treat as success, came out of that space. I dreamt about these things, and then somehow my reality changed, right? Once I got the right skills and right people around me. And let's talk about people, because to me, people are the key the relationship with people is a key thing that we need to focus as we're trying to build our new lives. And again, maybe that's a perception of me coming from the culture where I am from, or my experience from corporate world, where I know that your connections with people makes a difference how you can succeed in your career. So when we are starting off new with our in our new roles or with new business, that's something we have to kind of keep on track and get along with people around us, right? And what would be your recommendation to improve that communication, and what should be the first and foremost to focus?
Yeah. So I call this as like COLA, COLA.
Yes.
As I said, like, often we think communication is about me speaking to others, like how do I communicate? And I think that this can get into like a wrong perception that you need to continuously to communicate. Mm-hmm. It's more about like, what is the context? Mm-hmm. How much are you observing? Mm-hmm. How much are you listening? And how much are you asking? Mm-hmm. So for example, when you are coming to a new company or working in a new environment, we need to observe, when are people available to have coffee? Mm-hmm. When are they not available to have coffee? When do they really feel energized? When do they really feel tired? When do they really need to rush and go home? When do they... So you, as you observe more, you actually understand that this is a good time to speak to this person. So this has happened in many times in my life as well, that I knew exactly the people I was working with, when is a good time to actually have a communication with this person, or when is not a good time to have a communication, because it's not about me, it's about the context, it's about that person I'm going to communicate, and what do I want out of that conversation. Mm-hmm. So if it is like, I would like to have a very short conversation, yet I would like to get yes and no answer, I would actually pick up a time when that person is very busy. Mm-hmm. And I would say, just quick 1 minute. And then, because he's in the middle of something, he would quickly take a decision. Whereas when he would say, okay, let's set up a meeting, I didn't want to do that. So I would observe the person and their cycle as how their cycle is. Mm-hmm. When is a good time? You listen as well, because when you listen deeply, you're actually not only listening with your ears, you're listening with your eyes, you're listening with your body, you're listening holistically. Mm-hmm. And then you start getting signals as, okay, what would I say here? Should I say something different? When I said this, how did the other person react? And ask questions, mm-hmm. rather than telling. The communication is the key level. I think it is Tony Robbins has this quote that if you want to live a better life, ask better questions. So when you are having a communication, then and politically there are a lot of things happen that they would actually come and say that this person is like this, and again you start assuming and start creating that perception and about that person. Always, when someone is giving you a perception about someone, you just ask them like, what makes you think that? Oh, okay. And at the same time, challenge the perception that this person would be. Mm-hmm. Okay? Because when you are communicating with already a preconceived perception, it's very difficult to communicate. You need to go with like, okay, I'm going to listen, I'm going to observe, I'm going to ask questions. What is the context of this communication? So it's not just about you getting a better communication. And that's it, I think, I have read like hundreds and thousands of books on that, and I can completely say that I lived a lot of that life as a self-conscious, that I'm always thinking that I need to talk this way, I need to be like this way, I need to behave like this way. But then when I understood that it's contextual, in certain contexts the same behavior is nice, in certain contexts it's not so. So in certain way, being nice is good. Certain way, assertiveness is good. Certain way that you need to not show your emotion, but certain way you need to show your emotions. So it's all contextual. You understand like where is what working to get the result that you would like to achieve, and it's not the same size that fits all.
So true, so true. And I agree with you that sometimes you kind of implementing the same thing, but it doesn't work, and that's purely because you are not in the right context.
Correct.
And again, that communication is always, I think each one of us always improves that skill. We can be at a certain level in some context, but we can be on the other level in another context. And that's why it's such a growing opportunity all the time, right?
Yeah, in fact, I'll give you an example. Like I was giving one speech once, and I was giving an example of me sitting with my father on the bicycle, and I was sitting on the front row, and my father was riding the bike. So in my context, that shows that we were like not having too much money. But when I would deliver this in New Zealand, or this would be considered father having fun with his child. The same sort of experience, context is different.
Yes.
So I would need to understand that this would not deliver my message in this context. It may deliver in the other context, the message. So what message do I want to deliver? What is the context? Then is my content. It's not often we are always working on my script and this and that. Great, we must always have that, but it's more about what is the context of the audience. What is the context in my office? Who all people are there? What is their background? What's their context has been? What is the context of the office? Then it comes to messaging, like how do I communicate with this person? I think there are a lot of trainings on that. The MBTI has one, DISC has one, and a lot of trainings which have also, Gallup also has many trainings. But as you observe, you start getting the idea. And then once you start getting the idea, you get an idea how to communicate. The content, the communication comes at the end, you know. And I think as a migrant, as I said, the context is different. So when you want to communicate in a new context, you need to understand it. You need to understand a lot of things, and this doesn't come in like 1 week or 10 days. It takes some time. And that's why I said it's important to be surrounded by these new context people, surrounded by the people who are from this country, who are born, raised. You understand their context, their life, their culture, without judging it that, oh, this is wrong, it shouldn't happen like this. Our country, we have... that's context is working there, fantastic. This context is working here. So you don't bring your own cultures and try and impose it. There are things which every culture can learn from each other. But the very fact in the beginning is that I need to learn, I need to adapt, I need to understand. That's the whole idea. Rather than saying, yeah, you know what, I will remain who I am, I will remain the same.
Bring
way.
your rules into someone's house.
Which doesn't make sense, you know, unless you are like, taken over the country or something, your country, then probably, even then it doesn't work, but I'm just saying that it may, have a different context communication. But generally, wherever I've been always starting from my taking the flight, landing day one, sitting at the airport, having a coffee, observing what's happening, talking to the taxi drivers, understanding, looking at how people are behaving in the traffic, what are they wearing, when I go to my office, or where is the office, how far people park their car, what do they speak in the morning, what were the conversation in the afternoon, what were the conversation in the evening when the meeting is happening. So you start getting that idea, your information starts giving you pattern insights, and that could be different for mine, different for you, but at the same time it will be like similar if you really observe. And that's all I think the communication is all about. It's not about you just alone. You are a part of a world. You're a part of a planet which is contextually different. Maybe there are some other galaxies, there are other life which we may not be able to communicate, I think.
I think it's so important what you are highlighting, and it is, I agree, we need to understand the context to make the communication going. One of the challenges that people face while they're trying to figure out the context they're in, implement and understand their skills and do their listening part, do the kola, and do those observations and take actions according to the observations we're making. But in meanwhile, internally, a person who changed everything, he's in such a stress, or either struggling to find the work, struggling to find a new place, new friends. Everything should be redefined, and usually it comes with lots of stress, and especially if you are stretched with your budgets and you have a family you need to take care of, and those type of stress can again put additional shore on your eyes, on your perception, because you don't have time and energy to figure it out. So what would be your recommendation to where to start?
That's actually a very important point. So I think one of the things that when we migrate, we need to actually just migrate with minimum spend that we would like to do. Maybe we would probably want to live in a smaller place, we want to get a smaller car. Often the quality of life that you have in your country may not be immediately the same. So you need to first start with very low expenses. Even if you get any part-time job, that's fine. Don't judge that, in my country, this is not considered a good job. And if they find out, I think we all have this prejudices that, okay, I will be judged. Nobody judges you in these cultures or countries. So immediately take something part-time, which has plenty of opportunities available. And then apply. If you're coming as a student, make sure that you're studying and trying to pay your expenses, trying to cover your costs, trying to find ways to earn money and get. If you're a student, it's very important that you go in the direction of the skill that you want to get a job in, even if you have to work for free. So if you're working part-time, but spend few hours every day, now there's a lot of opportunities, like you can be a freelancer, you can talk to people on LinkedIn, you can reach out and offer your services, but become good at what you do. So people can see that there's a potential here and I can use his services while he's learning. That's fine, but at least I can use his services to get something done. So as a student, you have a different context. My advice for a student would be that you take a part-time job, earn money, but at the same time do a job in which you would like to go. You're getting skilled in that. Mm-hmm. Because the game is not about knowledge. This is where me, when we started our career. For a student, he or she needs to understand the game is not about knowledge. The game is all about skill. Mm. Your degrees, no matter what you have done, have no value. With the respect, they have value, but at the same time, your real value is your skill.
What you can do and what you can offer.
What you can offer, right?
Yes.
What you can deliver.
Yes.
Because knowledge alone is intrinsic. It's just in your head. Mm-hmm. How much have you actually created something with that knowledge? Mm-hmm. Or how much have you used it is the skill. So for a student, I would have a different, but for someone who's coming as a migrant who's studying here, mm-hmm. Has got the experience and now has come here in the country and doing like MBA or some master's degree, for them also, I would say that, find ways to do part-time work in the direction of the job that you would like to get. Mm-hmm. Reach out to people, try and create community, reach out to those community of people, try and meet your network of those people, because network becomes very important. And if you're coming as a PR, if you're a permanent resident from your country and you're coming here with some skills, immediately start offering your services, try and, reach out to people, try and create a network again of people that you can ask questions. There are a lot of people who are happy to mentor you, share their information and knowledge. And so more you do that, the better, you get an understanding where the opportunity could be. So it's all about understanding what the market is, how would you actually frame yourself, how would they really see you. So it's all the same things, but it's just different in a different context.
Interesting. And while you are doing this, and when you are trying to figure out your new actions, understanding the new context, you're in trying to find the word and bring you closer in those skills or the networks and connections to get to the job you want to. We still have that internal problem, right? That something internal, your inner self is asking you to be better, improve more, and some of us start procrastinating, some of us start doing so much noise but not getting the results, some of us start really doing different things and trying because that inner voice is there to kind of hold us responsible, and with that stress, what would be your recommendation to, while you are trying to figure out the context and improve your actions and bringing your new life, how to deal with yourself?
Yeah. So there are three points in that. One is your higher self, one is your lower self, and the third is yourself. So when you have a higher self, it's all about encouraging you, telling you how do you look forward to the future, things will get better, things are improving and it will get better and better. There's like a lot of people have affirmations that they use from their higher self. The lower self is all about like fear, grief, what if this happens, what if this goes wrong, and then third is yourself. So you basically make a choice. Which self do you want to encourage listening? So if you spend more time listening to your lower self, that's what your experience will be. But you are the one who is responsible. You are the one who is actually choosing to basically. And the more you try to fix the lower self, the more it gets stronger. Right? So the way to do it is you journal lower self, whatever the lower self is saying, you journal it. And see exactly on the paper that, is this really true? Whatever has been said, is this really true? And then you channel your higher self and you say, okay, which one is better for me for this result? Sometimes, this might be a little bit surprising. Sometimes the lower self is also good. Like some people, when they're angry, they actually deliver more. They can do more.
Because there is an energy there.
There's energy, like football players, when I often watch, they're always like in some sort of an anger, fighting with each other, but they kick the ball better. Right? If they are very peaceful, nice, and relaxed. I don't know. I'm not sure how would they, but I've seen in cricket, for example, when they hit the ball, when the player is very angry, they hit. There was one player who hit 6 sixes when he was angry. So it's all about, like, if you are going to have a conversation or an interview, one of the things you will notice, if you need the job a lot, you'll be more nervous. So it's like this, that you need this job strongly, to that degree you'll have nervousness. But often the jobs that we have cleared or got the jobs is the job we just went for the interview just like that. Because we went for the interview just like that, we were not having that much of desire or attachment to the outcome. So nervousness was very low. But when you're really attached that, I need to get this job, I need to deliver this, I need to do it well, to that degree you will be very nervous. So it's like they go hand in hand in a way. But then you choose, like, which one do you really want to listen to in a moment to moment. So when you are in a situation like that, the lower self will be charged, nervous, creating a lot of anxiety and so on. At the same time, there'll be higher self telling you, hey, we'll get through this, we'll get that done. And you choose which one you want to pay attention to.
One of the things with journaling, I totally agree with it. I sometimes ask as well, whether it's relevant or not. Because there might be lots of higher self or lower self opinions, but what yourself is choosing is the relevance, and that sometimes helps to make choice.
Yes.
And if angry, if there is the anger energy, like I can do it, I can pull it through, and you feel that energy is there, sometimes that can be your fuel.
Correct.
And the vice versa, as well.
Right.
If something is encouraging you so much, that can be your fuel too.
Yeah.
And again, in that stress type of environment, going and talking to yourself or to the coach is probably one of the things we all try to do when we are trying to find those answers. And from the perspective of a person who is trying to understand the context, and this leads us a bit more into the duality space now, right? About how everything is interrelated, your higher and lower self, and how we can use both directions. And in bringing the changes that we want, in bringing the world or making the New Zealand a better place for all of us to be and develop and rise and grow in that type of environment, I think the principles of duality fosters that a lot, right? And can you help me to record this bit more? Sure. Because I know you are how important this concept is in your life, and let's touch it a bit.
Sure. So I think we can use the word for migrants to help them to. So when you come to a new country, to the degree you basically have the excitement, to that degree also you're nervous that, how would it be, it's gonna be as we would want, and then there'll be excitement that you're leaving the country that has some things which are not as you probably would want to have. So people who frame a picture which is more beautiful and less anxious actually migrate.
Again, people
who create a more beautiful image of migration, than their anxiety migrate.
Oh, yes.
People who have a strong image of anxiety that this will go wrong, this will not be, and than the image of migration, they would probably stay in their own country.
So it's expectation.
It's the expectation. At the same time, when you have a duality like as higher self and lower self, you would always see that which one do I want to support more here. I'm not saying it's right and wrong. This is not like lower self might seem like it's like not good. No, it is part of us.
Yes.
So it is part of us might say, what if I migrate to Australia, for example? And the lower self might say, well, right now I'm very settled here. So when the excitement of the migration to Australia becomes more than the anxiety of leaving the place, you move. Whereas when you have the anxiety more than the migration or movement, you stay. And I'm not saying it's right and wrong again. It's duality is like, it's everywhere. You have two hands, you have two legs, you have two brains, you have two eyes, two nostrils. So it is the balance that they actually offer each other. So when you are making a decision, know that if you go to a new country, it will also have challenges, but it will also offer happiness. If you take those challenges and convert into an opportunity, you will be also able to teach others. Right? So this is always together. Challenge comes with opportunity, because if you solve it, you have an opportunity. If you don't solve it, it's a challenge. So you're always playing with duality. Like the other way of looking at it is that if you don't have duality, you really don't know if you have it. Like when we come to New Zealand, we complain that people local here don't appreciate the kind of security they get, the free services government offers, and because they don't know otherwise. Right? So you need to. if like you and I would, as a migrants, would say, hey, you know what, we're happy we got this, right? Because we have seen that when it's not there.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've never seen it there, it's basically given. Mm-hmm. You don't even know you have it. Mm-hmm. And that's a dualistic space that I encourage that, we must have both sides to at least see that you have it. Because if you don't see that both sides, you actually ignore and lose the gratefulness. And that's why I think we've got a lot of these exercises of gratefulness. Mm-hmm. But when you do it as an exercise, you also need to know the lack of it, like when you don't have it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where many people struggle that, okay, this is given, the electricity will be there 24/7, water will be delivered 24/7, the car will always have fuel, you'll have money for this, you have money for that, you can afford travel. But you probably, I don't know percentage-wise, but a huge percentage of the world has that as a dream.
Yes.
But then because we didn't have the duality or lack of it, we just thought it's given.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, that's so true. And again, each one have different experience, and having that understanding of how things can be on two different angles.
Correct.
I think that's quite powerful. It is something that we need to value. And to me, gratefulness was always a shortcut to overcome, but also realize where you were. And I think there is a fuel in it, right? There is a power in that experience.
Correct.
As well as in the higher and lower end of it. Both of them have a power.
Correct.
And that helps quite a lot to fuel that energy for moving forward.
Correct. And there's no higher without lower, right? Otherwise, you don't know that's higher, right?
So true. It's like, for instance, I don't know if I should tell this or not, but I will. Coming from where my childhood was, right? The water, we didn't have the house where we used to live. It was a condominium type of apartments, right? And every summertime, from May to September, I don't know why they used to turn off the water. And we used to carry the water from the place where it wasn't like that in every Kazakh city, but apparently my childhood was with that experience. And I was like, really, every morning, all the summer, we used to carry water back to the fourth floor. And it was okay until I realized, something is wrong when only after the experience of having it available all the time. And you don't realize its power until you kind of experience the other end. So at that moment, I was okay-ish, and because I didn't know the other end exists, right? So it always works both ways.
Both ways, yeah. And I think when you see that you can have, like, even I grew up where we used to have like a water in the morning, in the evening during that time. When I went to another city and they said, like, it's 24/7. I said, like, how does that work? Like, that means, so I thought that would make me happy, right? But it didn't, because it was comfortable, but then slowly it became normal. Like, and then, it's like, okay, this will be like this. So, but because initially I did enjoy it. I said, wow, this is so good, that 24/7 electricity, 24/7 water.
Oh, I can relate to that.
Right?
When I went the Moscow hotel, like Ritz-Carlton, right? That's 5-star. The square is there, and you kind of get the top everything, right? The services and everything. You kind of get that experience of being in the most expensive place at the most expensive land, and you get the most expensive services in.
Right.
And it's again the same end. You kind of enjoy it for a moment, but it doesn't change the thing about you.
Change it,
Same thing with either me having a childhood without that water, or me having an experience being at the top hotels. It doesn't matter because they all just your experiences, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's something each one of us needs to learn how to process internally.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it becomes something like it will put a stamp on the ego. And you can hear those things in people, right? When they move, and you can hear the experiences they had, how they again translated without words. You can feel that.
Yeah. And I think one thing I've realized is that comfort is not really happiness. You know, comfort is sort of, in a way, an attachment that, you know, you don't want to let it go, but it doesn't really make you happy anymore. Like you know it's there, but it's just not there in a way. And I think the real happiness, when you are actually doing what you really enjoy doing, you know, serving people, and those are the real core happiness. And I think when we come as a migrant, and one of your questions was that we don't have too many resources but I think we always have resources to serve. You know, we have always got resources. People are always seeking help. People are always wanting someone to support them. If you just find small ways to do that, and you know, suddenly you see there's an opportunity striking you, because you've been supporting, and you've been self-serving, and you are appreciating this new environment. Maybe you're creating something on Facebook, sharing positive about this country, you know, how different it is, good it is. So you create that duality side of a setup, and when you don't have, for example, a job in the beginning, the struggles that you have, share that with other people. Like, how did you solve that? How did you overcome that? What was the tricks about exchange rates? What were the tricks about travel? How did you save money on the travel? How, when you landed in the country, how did you save money on rent? You know, when you share that more people, I think I commend you for the working on this podcast and sharing that experience of yours and others to help others, so that they can probably have their journey easier than what they had.
So true. I think, to me, one of the key moments when I realized that I am more Kiwi now than what I am before, when I stopped translating or converting the cost into my local currency.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, I don't know how much it is in my local currency, because it means that I am in this environment now. So there are some signals that we get along our way, but the true, I think, power is really get those connections right. I was so blessed to meet right people at the right time, who was there to support me, and who are still in my world supporting me. And I think that's there is such a power in those connections, and the earlier we make those connections, the easier for us to get through the changes.
And I think this is as this grows, and you know, there's a community for migrants. I think we would want to have that setup where people who are coming from the new country, there is a path that they can follow to settle and find their you know, connections with different people, different nationality, different cultures, and also embracing their own, keeping their own, but at the same time being adaptable, open to others. And I think that'll really help them to make this as a home. And I think once you apply that, you pretty much go anywhere in the world, you can make that place as your home.
Yes.
Because the world is looking for people who are coming here to add value, you know, to share their wisdom, knowledge, skills, and make the place wherever they go better by being there.
And that's the reason why we are recording this, right? Yeah. Because we know this is something that we feel as a context.
Yes.
We feel there is a vibe or a need to have those communities more visible, more connected. Yes. And that's a key reason, I think, for us to support each other and support those who are coming to the country, to make that more visible and available for people. And it's such a power behind these connections, making sure that we're delivering this message together, but also helping each other to get connected and understand that context together. I think that's a key thing.
Yeah, That's awesome, actually.
And is there anything that I need to ask you in terms of the conversation we had, or anything that you think I had to ask?
I think pretty much we have covered most of it. I think the only area where I would like people who are coming into the new country is to spend more time in preparation rather than just jumping and coming here and then figuring things out. Spend time understanding, where are they going to live, what are the cost or the expenses they would have, how long would they want to be, like if they're looking for a job, which are the areas which have good schools, the areas which they can go to public school, their children, if they have children. I think there's a lot of preparation time, and I also commend you for helping people in that area and serving them to guide them in this journey. But I think there's a lot of time that people who are coming into the country should spend actually in understanding and doing preparation before coming. There's a lot of preparation required when you come here, and I think there's a lot of mistakes happen there that they just think that I'll come here and suddenly one day, tomorrow I'll get a job. It doesn't work like that. It just takes time. It takes time for you to settle. It takes time for you to understand. So you need to have your expenses covered during that time. You need a place to live. If you need a basic car, you need a basic car that you would want to buy.
Yes, in New Zealand, in Auckland. Yes.
So you need to prepare well. I think that's very important. And I think that's where people, if they want someone who can help them, guide them, someone like you or I think in terms of their journey. So I think it helps them to make their journey easier compared to figuring things out by themselves, and it takes a while. And I think that's an important part of preparation before coming here.
Yes, so true. And I wish I would have a clearer plan before coming, because yes, no one, although knew the COVID would be coming for that long, but definitely it resonates quite a lot with me. But you need to understand your spending profile, your profile of what you need to do to get the career that you need to have, and what you can offer and how you can grow in that. And there is always a space for the growth, but also one thing that I think was crucial in my journey, or in the way we had it, is to make sure things are happening, because there were risks to postpone if I was too afraid after analyzing that.
Yes.
So there should be again that balance, making sure you understand your risk, you shoot off with your plan, but understand also that you need to action accordingly. I think that two things that go together.
Yeah, that's true.
And coming back to the duality question.
That's right. Yeah, that's true. And I think even when you're preparing and when you're coming also, you need someone to guide them through the path.
Yes.
And there are less people today that, want to really share. And I think when we share, it's going to help us, because we will also understand, how we did it, and how we can even do it better next time if we move across another country.
Yes. Oh, yes, that's for sure. Now I know. I wish I knew when I was coming here.
It takes a while. And I think, as you mentioned, that it's a journey. You're never there. You're always in a process. You're always in a journey. You're always becoming.
Yes.
And I think there's a fun in becoming. You never become.
But you rise.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, that's true. So true. Okay, let's maybe pause here. I still have a few questions in my mind, but let's just have a pause, and I'd like to thank you, Ashish, for this wonderful time. I think it is an amazing conversation to have with you, and for me it is never enough, as you know. I think we talked through a few things that we've been discussing earlier, and again, as I said at the beginning, you're such an incredible leader and incredible person who helps so many people around you just because of your view and understanding of the context and understanding who are the people around you. And I wish you all the best in this journey, and we feel so lucky to have you in our life, and I think New Zealand is really lucky to have you here. And it's amazing to be in this journey together. Thank you very much for this.
And thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure, and I commend you for the work you are doing to help all the migrants. Thank you, Sil.
Oh, thank you very much, Ashish.